JerseyM.com. Jersey moves fast. Join the show that keeps you one step ahead. Jersey Central with Bert Barron on the new Talk Radio 1450 WCTC.
It is 7:08, hour number 2 of Jersey Central on the new Talk Radio 1450 WCTC, the voice of Central Jersey. Good morning to you. It's Bert. Our contest is coming up. We've got the State Theater, New Jersey Family Day event that's coming up. We've got your chance to win the 4 tickets to that. We'll do that for you a little bit later on this morning. I want to get to the Jersey Central Newsmaker Hotline and welcome Eric Miller back to WCTC. Eric has done a bunch of terrific events in recent years, highlighting things like epilepsy and gun violence and gun victims, and even organized a New Jersey event as part of a nationwide thing that happened not too long ago. And he's joining me this morning just to talk about the shooting in Florida yesterday. Eric, good morning. It's Bert. Welcome back to WCTC, and thanks for making yourself available so early. Share, if you would, initial reaction that you got yesterday without knowing how many victims, the circumstances surrounding the shooting yesterday. When you just heard school shooting somewhere in Florida, talk about your initial reaction.
Well, good morning, Bert. Thanks for having me on again. The main thing is probably just like everybody else in the United States. It's not a reaction of surprise anymore, right? It's a reaction of horror always, but surprise at this point, never. We're kind of past that point. There are 195 countries in the world, and there's only one country that this happens in, and it happens to be ours because we're swimming in 300 million guns.
Yeah.
So, we don't get the luxury of being surprised anymore.
And if you look at the statistics of where we are so far this year, Eric, I mean, 2018 is still very much in its infancy. We've barely kind of scratched the surface on 2018. And you look at the number of school shootings and these violent incidents that have taken place already. It's remarkable that, you look at these statistics and there's not a national outcry for this. I mean, people will take to the streets to talk about other things, but where is the outcry about things like this?
Well, I think that's a great point. I think we're generally, like I said, the horror is always there, but the shock, it's sort of tent poles when we have a big event like this, unfortunately big meaning a high number of casualties, but these happen, on the pace of school shootings so far in 2018 is one every 2 days, right?
Wow.
So,
yeah.
But mass shootings in general, which is 4 or more people having been shot, it's about every day and a half, right? It's becoming more frequent. So we kind of get complacent, and I think, honestly, I think the gun lobby sort of benefits from that. They push that narrative, right? So you'll notice they immediately go to scapegoating mental illness, for instance, right?
Yeah.
The thoughts and prayers things. Of course, we all have thoughts and prayers, but it also kind of disarms somebody. If you're in the face of someone saying thoughts and prayers, you don't want to sort of speak out against that, because then you feel, yes, I also feel thoughts and prayers, right? So,
of course,
I think they feed on complacency, and it further pushes their ability to sell fear and sell more guns. There's always a spike in gun sales after a big event like this because people get afraid, but it literally happens every other day or every day in only one country in the world. So.
Yeah. Let me make a comparison here, Eric, and if it's an unfair comparison, so be it. But recently now, the drug lobby, they're beginning to realize that, the opioids that they're manufacturing and marketing to doctors, and the doctors are prescribing at incredible high numbers, it's leading to a lot of deaths. We can't bury the people fast enough that are dying from opioid addiction and just dying in record numbers here. And now the drug makers are saying, we're partially to blame for this, so we want to do the right thing so that we can kind of stem the tide of addiction and death. Why does the gun lobby not follow a similar pattern to to Big Pharma and say, part of this is our fault too? Will we ever see that?
I don't think so. I think the difference is the fear element. Like I said, the fear actually increases their sales, right? So, they're in the business of gun manufacturers are in the business of making money, right? So the more guns that come off their conveyor belt, the more money they make. So, of course, they're not going to be responsible. And that a corporation is amoral. They don't have a responsibility to do that. They have a responsibility to the shareholders or whomever to maximize profits. Versus a drug company where they probably realize there's a bit of a balance, and there's probably a tipping point in terms of outrage that they could all or nothing at all at a point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel like almost Eric Miller is our guest here on WCTC. Eric, I feel like sometimes we're just trapped on a merry-go-round that I can't get off of, and it's this constant cycle of a shooting, a reaction, a debate, and then silence. And then it starts up again with another shooting, a reaction, maybe a little more debate, but then the next thing you know, the next shiny object comes along and takes America's attention away. And then wouldn't you know it, we're right back where we were with another shooting, and we realize, hey, you know what? We haven't done a darn thing since the last one. That's the cycle that we got to figure out how to break. And I don't think we've managed to do that yet. I don't know if we ever will.
Well, I think the root of it that you don't hear a whole lot talked about is essentially money in politics, right? So, the gun lobby can sort of legally bribe politicians, and politicians vote accordingly, right? So, you hear, you're fair in saying, well, what can we do? There's nothing we can do. Frustration, blah, 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 all that stuff, right? We all feel that.
Yeah.
But the root of it is, as long as those guys are taking that money, it's a for-profit industry. It's not going to end, right? So, the most power you have is not only in activism, but, basically voting, and in New Jersey, there are politicians who take, quote, donations from the gun lobby. So find out who that is and vote accordingly, right? Vote against them.
Yeah. Yeah. If that's how it has to begin, and that's the first step of a very difficult solution, and however long path it may be, it's you do what you have to do. The bottom line is, Eric, we can't have this anymore. I know everybody will say the same thing. This has to stop. When's the next one? We can't have this anymore. Well, until there's action, I mean, real, serious, bona fide, tangible action, I don't know if it's ever going to stop.
Yeah.
As terrible as that sounds.
Yeah, I feel you, brother. It's like I said, the biggest thing that I sort of come back to this point a lot in social media, things like that, is either you have to work on this daily because it's happening daily, right? You can't just be complacent and show up after a huge event. You have to sort of be in the fight, right? Like you said, be in this. But I always come back to this point, every day you're either defending the guns of tomorrow's shooter or the lives of tomorrow's victims.
Well
right?
said.
So
yeah.
Who do you want to be, right?
Yeah.
So every day make that choice.
Yeah. That's a nice thought, unfortunately, but it's a nice way to kind of leave people thinking as we wrap up here, Eric. But you're right. And thank you for your time this morning. And you're in the process of lining somebody up tomorrow morning for me. Who will we talk to tomorrow morning, and what's their group about?
There's a couple people from Moms Demand Action, New Jersey, that I can connect you with.
Okay.
I'll be in touch about that.
Okay.
If I can throw out a resource or two.
Yeah, of course. Go right ahead.
There's a really fantastic website. One of the obstacles is the CDC has been barred from collecting gun violence data, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a great website called gunviolencearchive.org. So you can go there, and they report daily statistics. So that's an accurate source for tracking mass shootings. Otherwise, you don't hear about them every day, right? So check out gunviolencearchive.org or Gun Violence Archive on Facebook. And then just in general for Moms Demand Action, is today people are listening and they think, well, how can I do now, right? There is a number, 64433. If they text the word READY to 64433, they'll hear back from Moms Demand Action, and they'll be able to sort of take some first steps to getting involved in the cause. Okay.
I look forward to speaking to someone from that group potentially tomorrow. But thank you again, Eric, for making yourself available. And one of these days we're going to chat about a very happy thing. I don't know when it's going to be, but hopefully someday you and I can just come on the air and have a laugh or two about something. And I hope that we see that day soon.
I look forward to that, brother. Thank you for giving me a voice.
Of course.
important thing.
Of course. Thank you, Eric. All right, Jersey Central traffic and weather time. It's